All right. Welcome, Internet. I'm Michael Slezak from TVLine.com. I am here with American Idol's Alex Preston in the house in New York. Thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me, dude.
We want to geek out about music, which I'm hoping will sound good to you.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about what was going on in your life before your audition and why you decided that season 13 was your year to try out for Idol.
I wasn't actually planning on auditioning, but I saw like an ad to audition online, so I decided to do that, and I got a call back. So I just took it step by step.
Sheer laziness. You didn't want to go stand around in a pool of 8,000 people, but if you could do it online,
Exactly.
not so bad. So you decide to audition with an original song.
Yeah.
Was there a thought in your head like, well, if I get cut during Hollywood Week, at least people will get to hear one of my originals? Or was that your strategy?
That was exactly the thought I had. I was like, I wanted to be either accepted or rejected, like beating myself.
Right.
So I wanted to play my own piece of music, because if they said no, I'd be like, all right, cool, because like that's who I am. So this obviously isn't for me, but it turned out the other way, so that's good.
And we had Harry Connick Jr., who's probably our most sort of specific music geek coach or judge in Idol history, and he started talking to you immediately about chords and harmonies. Were you expecting to have someone discuss that with you at your audition?
No, I wasn't, because I'd never really seen that before. Like, I was really happy that he started, he talked about pentatonic and like triads and all that. It was cool, like the fact that, and he brings a whole different like aspect to the judging table.
He loved talking to you about ending on the 9.
The 9, yeah.
For those of us who might be slightly confused or completely confused by ending on the 9, give us a little hint of what that is.
Well, the 9 is just like the 9th note in the scale, or so it could also be the 2. It's just the octave, and it's I don't know. It's just not a very typical note to end on. And
is it something you've always liked doing?
Yeah, I think it adds a bit of mystery to it,
right.
And I think that ending on the 9 or ending on the 7 is always kind of cool for me, especially if you're playing a 9 chord or a 7 chord.
Is that innately built into your brain when you're covering songs? Because I feel like a lot of times you could hear subtle shifts in the melody and phrasing, but if your music knowledge isn't massive, you sort of wonder like, what exactly is he doing there? Is that a way to sort of subtly shift a song and make it a little less karaoke?
Yeah, I mean, whenever I sing, I don't really. I think I'm like the backup singer's worst nightmare, because like I do weird things and they're completely unintentional.
Right.
Like I don't mean to. I like in for instance, don't speak. Instead of saying don't speak, I said don't speak.
Right.
I didn't mean to do that, but it just came out. Because
that wasn't planned?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I just thought, I was like, all right, I'm gonna do it.
And they can't tell where you're going with it, so if they're doing backgrounds, they might collide with you rather than.
Yeah, I mean the note was still the same, so it still worked, but it was scary. I didn't mean to.
Gotcha. Apologies to Allison Irahita and company.
Yes, exactly.
So we get you to Hollywood Week and you do Scream and Shout.
Yeah.
You actually did Will.i.am and Britney Bitch.
Yeah.
I think did you say bitch? Did they leave that out? What did you say?
I said woo instead. I was going to, but I was like, I can't do that.
What made you pick that? And I'm going to jump way ahead. I kept waiting for you to do something like that for the rest of the season, like pick something really poppy, electronic-y, and put an Alex Preston twist on it. So, A, what prompted you to do that in Hollywood Week, and B, why didn't you do it again?
I did that in Hollywood Week because I honestly wasn't expecting to make it through. So I was like, this would be really cool, and like no matter what happens, I can still say I did it, because like no one ever expected that.
Right.
And I was actually going to play Sexy and I Know It, but I ended up not doing that.
Shut up. When were you going to do Sexy and I Know It?
Rush Week.
Really?
Yeah, but I didn't think it was a good idea because it's like the first live show. So I decided to do Damien Rice. Completely different.
Yeah, you couldn't get more different than Damien Rice and LMFAO. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. And you didn't think about doing it again later in the season, picking that up? I feel like that would have shocked America. And I know you're friends with Alex and Sierra, and they did a couple of those types of covers, like Say My Name and Toxic.
Yeah.
That sort of, just people love that. And I was like, I knew you had the capability to do it because you'd shown it in Hollywood Week. So
it's a risk. I mean, you want everyone to take you seriously, and sometimes you'll be like, oh, that's a gimmick. Like, what's he doing? But like I was scared of the spring and shout, but luckily it turned out like good. But it's still scary.
Yeah. No shirt, no shoes, and I still get service. I guess if you're going with that lyric, there is a fear of not being taken seriously.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Top 13 week, you did A Beautiful Mess. Harry his instant response was, it's a little too introverted and quiet. How did you feel? Because that's, as we got to see over the weeks, the kind of performer you are. You're not bombastic and big. You do a lot of more intimate kind of music. And I think maybe as a judge on the show for the first time, he didn't realize how well that kind of music can do. But were you thinking like, oh crap, like this is gonna be a long 13 weeks for me if this is the feedback I get every week?
I mean, I was like, I knew that was gonna happen because like in television, like the big performances are always the more entertaining ones, obviously, because they're a little bit more captivating. But I have like influences obviously with like Passenger, Ed Sheeran, Damien Rice, Jason Mraz, and so I play kind of low key stuff, and people were, I think, kind of like grew onto it. Like they didn't. I don't think they really, like the judge really understood it at first. They were like, it was kind of different, but I'm really happy that they started to understand it.
Yeah, I don't think you've got to give her sharp credit. I don't think always the biggest, boomingest are the most entertaining. I think a mix of both.
Yeah.
That's what makes Idol fun and exciting.
Yeah, it shows artistry.
I will ask, in top 31, top 12, and top 11 week, you did Volcano, I Don't Want to Be, and Falling Slowly. All of these songs were done in a very memorable way in prior Idol seasons. Philip Phillips did Volcano. Chris Allen did Falling Slowly. These weren't just contestants. These were winners on the show. Were you a previous Idol watcher? Were you aware of those covers going into doing those covers? Did that scare you at all? Or is ignorance bliss?
I literally did not know that, like, I knew Falling Slowly was done, but I hadn't really seen it.
Okay.
And then Damien Rice was, like, one of my favorites, and Volcano was one of my favorite songs. And I was actually rehearsing, and someone was like, oh, Phil Phillips did that. Are you scared of that? I was like, wait, really? He did that? Dang it. Like,
that is a song you wouldn't have thought was covered on Idol.
Exactly. Like, I didn't think anyone really knew who it was. But, you know, I was just like, I'm a different artist, and hopefully people find different things that they like about it.
Right. So you didn't have the weight of those performances on your back because did you not just not watch a lot of Idol?
I used to, like a long time ago, but once I like started high school, I kind of just stopped for some reason. Then I started up again, like season 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
So which seasons did you miss? Like 6 through.
I didn't watch last season. I think like those 4 years.
Okay. Wow.
I was a big fan of Casey Abrams.
Okay.
Like, that's why
you got into season 10.
Yeah.
I'm a Haley Reinhart fanatic on this end. So
I love their voices together.
How great are they? The stuff they've been doing post Idol.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like they're both really nice too.
I could talk about Haley Reinhart all day. So
she's
stop
so
me.
good. And like when her and Casey did the duet on
Moanin'.
Idol.
Yeah.
With the scat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So cool.
One of the best duets, and Idol duets are sometimes a little, you kind of
Weird,
get the sense that people didn't have a lot of time to prepare, maybe weren't on board with the song, wondering like, how did we end up on this stage together?
Kind of sometimes, but like they have such good chemistry.
And you even got judged on one of your duets. Yeah. You're sitting on a couch and suddenly it's like, hey, we're going to have Demi Lovato randomly appear and criticize you.
Yeah. I don't know. We weren't expecting that, but it was, Sam and I didn't really, we were just having fun. It was funny though. We were laughing after.
So top 10 week, you did Story of My Life. Was it scary to tackle One Direction? Like, that's a fan base that you just don't know how they're going to respond to anything. And I felt like you sort of gave the song a much more laid back approach. You know, it's probably their least boy bandy song of all their songs.
Yeah, it's an awesome song.
But you kind of stripped it down into this quieter place. Tell me about that particular cover. How did you end up with that song? And what was your approach to it?
I actually was like on the fence of not performing it. I forget what the other song I wanted to do was, but I ended up making that kind of indie arrangement for it. And it was pretty close. Like the melody, there was only a couple melody changes,
right?
But it was more instrumentation differences. And I don't know, I had a blast doing it, and it got really good response, which was cool because like I almost didn't do it, so it was a good decision.
That was Billboard. That was the Billboard Top 10s. What did you thought about? Do you remember what your other option was?
I wish I did. It wouldn't have turned out like that.
Okay.
It would have been, I don't know, if I would have been bad.
I think one of my favorite rearrangements of yours during the season was "Don't Speak" during Top 9.
Really?
Yeah, and that got somewhat lukewarm response.
Yeah, they didn't like it
from the judges.
Yeah.
But I thought there was like an inherent sadness and drama in yours, but it wasn't that over the top kind of Gwen Stefani drama to it.
Exactly.
Was that your goal? And did you watch it back? Were you happy with it?
Yeah, I loved it. There's only a couple performances I was really stoked about of mine, and I think that was one of them. Just because, I don't know, I thought that it still kind of had that emotional aspect, but it was more me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was cool.
I thought you were going to tell me there were only a couple that you weren't happy with.
Oh, well, no, like super
like super stoked.
Yeah.
Really?
I was proud of myself.
Yeah.
But there was like a few instances where I was like, dang, like I'm really happy about that.
Are you your own worst critic?
Oh gosh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Clearly, that's like that question kind of already answered itself about 30 seconds ago.
Yeah.
So you followed that up with Fairy Tale. How excited were you that you auditioned with an original when they're like, we're going back to the start?
Yeah.
You and Jess must have been like,
oh my gosh, yeah. We were so stoked because like then we did the iTunes tracks for it, so it got an opportunity to like chart and stuff, which was like a whole experience in itself. And then performing it up in front of millions of people was another one.
Did you stay up late watching iTunes charts, seeing?
Yes.
Do you know what you peaked at?
I think I was like 30 in the world, or like 25 or something.
How crazy is that?
It was amazing. Like, never thought I would have a song like top 40 like on iTunes.
Yeah, and it's like a complicated little song. There's a lot of different shifts in sort of tempo and melody with it. Tell me about writing it. Do you start with music? Do you start with lyrics? What's your writing process? Do you write with guitar or piano, or how does it all work?
I'm kind of like, I kind of do both. I think that one was guitar first. I came up with the progression, and then I came up with the lyrics. But I write on all different kinds of instruments. I think that if you write too many songs on guitar, you kind of lose your creative aspect of like songwriting.
Okay.
And so if you move to piano, it'll offer a whole different vibe, and then you'll be like, whoa, like I didn't know I could get this melody out of this progression or whatever. So like, I think if you switch up instruments, it offers a new, like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, like a new creative like breath of fresh air.
Right.
You know? That's hard to say.
I get what you're saying.
You get, yeah.
Yeah. As long as you weren't going to stop with "lose your creative ass" because you stopped on ass, and I was like, you lose your creative ass on that. Were you at all afraid of doing your own song? Because if you went home on your own song, that would kind of suck. Or did you feel like this is a pretty good song? I feel like I'm going to stand by this. I'm not nervous about it.
No, I was nervous. Because like, if they did say no, I'd be like, oh man, like that's a song I wrote. But
right.
But still, you know, like I was excited more or less to get feedback from the judges.
80s Week, you covered The Police, Every Breath You Take. A very polarizing performance.
Yeah.
Some of the judges loved it, some didn't like it. The blogosphere was very split on it. I know you probably love the blogosphere as a general noun. But what was your intent with the rearrangement? How did you approach it? And how did you feel about it once you watched it back?
I don't know. I mean, I had fun arranging it because, like, I don't know. It was the biggest change, and I definitely could have stayed a little bit more true to the melody, but I had fun with it, and there was a lot of mixed reviews, but that's expected, obviously, because it's such an iconic song, and a lot of people have emotional attachment to the song because they, you know, I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I thought it was kind of cool.
Okay, and even the stalker aspect of it was under debate. I think a lot of people listen to it and just think, oh, romantic, he's following her, and you know. Then other people hear it and they hear something much darker. Yeah,
exactly. I don't know what the true is, but I was kind of going for the more romantic aspect of it.
Gotcha. Rock Country Week, you had Animal and Always on My Mind, which I think, on the scale of your performances, Always on My Mind, I think was one of your best, and Animal maybe not so much.
Probably my worst.
Did you feel like Animal was not going well beforehand? Were you worried about that, or was it just night of that it sort of went a little awry on you?
I don't know. I think that I just got way too wrapped up in the emotion and like the energy of the room that I kind of just lost like my breath. But during rehearsals, it kind of sounded good.
Okay.
So I think I just screwed it up, and I totally knew because I think there was a commercial break before or something.
Right.
But I totally knew that I had screwed up. But always in my mind, I thought that was a cool rendition. I worked hard with my vocal coaches with that.
Michael Orland?
No, I had Antonio and Tim.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Michael Orland's awesome though.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I've got a note here on the side of my questions just about socks and rolled pants.
Yeah.
Are socks like? Is you not wearing socks like Samson's hair? Does it bring you a special power, or is it just a style choice? How important is it to not wear socks and to peg those pant legs?
Well, I'm a huge. I don't know. I think it all started just by like being on the beach a lot.
Okay.
And just always like being too lazy to put on socks again after going in the water, and then rolling up the pants so they don't get wet.
Okay.
And then I just kind of stuck with it.
You spend a lot of time at the beach in New Hampshire?
No, we go up to like Cape Cod.
Okay.
Yeah. Or York.
Gotcha. Yeah. I didn't want this interview to get too serious, so I thought I'd just randomly throw that one in there. Now we can get back to talking about music. So you get to Top 5 week, and you have Sweater Weather as one of your songs. Were you feeling at that point pressure to do something up-tempo and have it go well? Because you'd done a lot of mid-tempo and ballads at that point. We hadn't really seen up-tempo, with maybe the exception of Animal, which was not maybe your best work. Was that in your brain?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, like, I do a lot of up-tempo stuff, like, in my own gigs.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of vibe was, like, kind of like who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of lyrics to it, so I was kind of nervous on stage, but I had fun with it.
Gotcha. That was also the week you did Say Something, which I think was one of your bigger moments of the season. Is that one of the ones you were stoked about?
Yeah, I was pretty stoked
after the fact.
Yeah, I think that Say Something, always on my mind. It wasn't my best, but I had a lot of fun playing it. Just because of the guitar chords.
And you're friends with Alex and Sierra, who
Yeah.
covered that. That might have sealed their victory on X Factor, but I read that you said you weren't aware that they'd covered it.
I didn't know. Because like I didn't watch the season.
Okay.
But I had seen them on YouTube before because I look up like X Factor and Voice on YouTube and obviously American Idol. And yeah, I didn't know, and they brought that to my attention, and I was like, oh, dang, I've sing a lot of the same songs as them.
So you met them after their X Factor experience?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. So it wasn't like they were mad at you saying like you missed our big moment?
No,
no. I think around Top 5, Top 4 week is when Harry and Jen started saying things to you along the lines of, well, what is your concert going to look like?
Yeah.
And is it going to be varied enough? And almost sort of a suggestion like, would it be interesting enough to watch you play for an hour and a half? Mm-hmm. How did you feel about that feedback? Did it bug you? Did it upset you? Did it feel like they weren't getting you?
Well, like even when I went home for the home visit, I had a concert, and like 2 minutes, like a 2-minute performance, isn't enough to show who you're going to be on stage, you know. And so like at my concerts, I like to jam a lot and like have fun with it and be really involved with the band and like do guitar solos and stuff. And it's a lot different performing like a television show and performing a live concert.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a lot more opportunity to do things that will captivate the audience for a long period of time.
Right.
But yeah, I mean that was a fair question. Like a lot of people have been asking that.
Yeah. That was also the week Top 4 where you were supposed to have performed another original, all for contestants, and then it got yanked out at the last minute, which I think is probably, even though I don't know how all the original songs would have sounded, I still think it was the worst decision of the season by the show. Were you bummed? What were you going to sing? What was it like having to change things at the last minute?
Yeah, I was bummed. I mean, I think that would have been a cool thing for Idol to do. Like, it would have kind of been revolutionary in a sense. letting people like the singers be artists.
Yeah.
It'll show like their longevity in this industry.
Right, because ultimately you're going to live or die based on what you put out after the show anyway. Why don't we hear some of it?
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was a cool idea, but we ended up having to switch it. I was so nervous because like we didn't have any time, so I ended up just going on yours, and like it wasn't my best because it was so karaoke. Like, I don't know, but yeah, I didn't. I really wanted to do the original song. But
what were you going to do?
A song I have called Love Letters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we find it on YouTube?
No.
No.
It's not. No, I got to record it. I wrote it during the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. So you were going to really test out some new material.
Yes.
At that point. That's great.
Yeah.
Is Love Letters possibly about being in a long distance relationship, or because we saw Jillian Jensen in the audience?
Yeah. Yeah.
We also saw her in the awful holding room of doom.
I know.
During Rush Week.
Yeah.
How badly did that suck?
That was another weird spin that I did, like the not letting people sing, which is kind of strange. I felt bad because a lot of them were, my friends.
Yeah. There's survivors. You have to feel excited to some degree, but there's also survivor's guilt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think that was I don't know if that was the worst twist of the season or if top 5 results was the worst twist of the season. Which did you hate more?
Both of them equally. I think both equally.
And your no vote during the top 5 twists, a little bit controversial. People were like, "That's not nice." But on the other hand, I felt like, thank God somebody voted no. Thank God 2 people voted no, because I think
America's right to vote.
It's the rules of the show.
Yeah, someone's going home either way, and so I knew that it could have been me, and I voted no because America's only role on the show is to vote, and you take that away, it's just like, well, that week was for nothing.
Yeah. Were you expecting a little bit of a backlash from it?
I didn't know that. I guess so. I guess there's always gonna be people who don't appreciate what you do, like.
Right.
So I didn't really care. I was just more mad at the whole situation.
Yeah.
I don't really listen to like hate comments.
Okay. Probably for the best.
Yeah.
Probably a smart strategy.
I see those, so.
I think it was also interesting I believe it was Top 4 Week on Twitter. You've gotten some of those remarks about, I don't know if you can compete with Caleb and Gina from the judges, saying like they're bigger, and again, it's almost a recurring theme, but they sort of put that critique away for a while and then brought it back top 5, top 4, and you tweeted, "I can only do what I can do," paraphrasing what you said.
Yeah.
But you seemed almost a little down. Were your feelings getting hurt a little at that point?
I was kind of down, like, because like I can't, like, if I tried to do those big performances, I would fail miserably. And so like I do what I am, like I am who I am, and like I understood what they were saying, but I was kind of bummed.
And you weren't. It's not like you were at risk or landing in the bottom 3 every week. So clearly you were resonating with a fairly large portion of the audience.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people appreciated what I was doing.
Top 3 week, you wind up getting sick. You had bronchitis. Correct?
Yeah, I was on antibiotics. So I think everyone was sick because of the home visit.
Yeah.
And that kind of took its toll on all of us.
Right, and I think by that point in the competition, you're probably pretty worn down. Then you do the traveling. You're up all night playing shows.
Change of weather.
Right.
But, yeah, it was rough.
Did you want your own doctor on stage to talk about your own sickness? He asks cheekily.
I didn't. I didn't really ask because I didn't have like the whole. I forget what Caleb had.
The ruptured.
The vocal. I forget the word. But like I had a very minor thing compared to him, but it was tough. That was a tough week for all of us, I think.
I felt like there was a slight vibe at the judges' table that they wanted a Caleb Gina finale at that point. Did you feel that way?
I mean, I could see that. Like I don't know. I mean, it was a really entertaining finale in that sense because they're both such big performers and great performers. They move around, and like I had fun watching it, and I had just been eliminated, so like it was a good finale.
Right. That week you did Pompeii, You switched to drums.
Yeah.
Was your mic off when you switched? I couldn't tell if, like, at first I thought maybe you'd messed up trying to get to the mic, but then when I watched it back, it was like, I don't actually think your mic was on when you switched over to drums.
No, yeah, the mic was off.
How's that as a performer? Like, hi, my mic is off.
I didn't know because like it was still in my ears, so I didn't think there was a problem. And then someone included me, and I was like, oh no. But yeah, it was weird.
Was it cool to have that moment, even though it was the week you went home, to be able to show that you play another instrument, to jump over there and do it?
Yeah, I mean, I knew I was going home that week, like totally.
Before performing or after?
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah, I had an idea.
Okay.
So I was like, you know what? This came in last week, so I'm just gonna try something new. And, yeah.
Was any of that in response to the judges' feedback? Was it just I want to play drums, or was it like I have to show these people I can do something else? You even stepped out from around the drums and approached the sway bot pit, which is a little scary.
Yeah.
Because those people can steal your rhythm.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was just to show people before the show ended that I could do something else.
Okay. I loved when you got assigned Stay when we saw you at your hometown visit. Your immediate response was like, what can I start doing with this? Was that always your process once you'd settled on a song? And tell me about Stay, about getting a Rihanna song. I don't think it's something we would have ever expected for you, but I thought it was a great choice.
Yeah, I mean, when I heard I was doing Stay, I kind of went through the song in my head real quick, and I was like, all right, this is gonna be cool. Because like if I get a song, then I'll know right away if it's like something that I can do or I shouldn't do.
Okay.
And Stay was definitely a cool opportunity for me. I'm really happy that they chose that, and I had a really good time arranging that with my coaches and Ricky and stuff. It was I thought that was one of my favorite performances.
How long does it take you to come up with at least the basic concept of what you're going to do with a song?
It usually maybe a couple hours, maybe like 2 hours.
Okay.
And my sessions with the coaches usually ran a little late because we would really tear it apart, and Gina was always after me, so she would always get like mad. She'd be like,
do you start by like singing it along with the track and feeling it out, or do you put the original track aside immediately so you're not thinking about it? What's the process there?
I usually don't listen to the original like at first. If I know the song already, if I don't know it, I'll have to. But like always in my mind, I didn't know that song.
Okay. And
so I had to go listen to it like a million times. But if I know the song already, I'll just kind of look up the chords and then start playing it my way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll listen to it and be like, all right, I got to tweak this, tweak that, tweak this.
Do you feel like if you'd done Stay last, you might have made the finale?
Probably not. I think that America had already made up their mind.
Okay. But the Story of My Life, the graphics on it.
Yeah.
I was like, what's going on? It was so weird.
What was it again?
It was like a subway, but it was like a full green screen. It wasn't even like stage. Like they zoomed in close enough so it just looked like you were in a futuristic video game subway. I didn't care for it. Did you know you were getting that?
I don't really see it.
Okay.
But if I see it again, I'll remember. But
you'll have a little flash PTSD type flashback.
Yeah.
So to end your Idol run, you were supposed to have a single that you recorded at the same time as Gina and Caleb's. What happened to that song? Is it good or bad that song has disappeared from existence? Do you hope it will see the light of day?
I hope it will. I mean, I liked it. I thought it was like Drew Pearson, who was involved with Home by Phil Phillips, wrote this, and it was sweet. It was like an awesome song, and I spent a long time recording it. So I hope that it gets out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's next for you? Obviously, you've had a huge amount of exposure. You made it up until the very last week of the show.
Yeah.
What do you do with it? How do you try to make yourself one of the third place contestants that goes on and has a long career versus potentially fading out?
Exactly. I mean, that was on my mind this whole process. Like the moment I started this, I was like, how can this benefit me in 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
When I'm actually trying to have a career outside the show.
Right.
And so I really focus on networking and like understanding the music industry and like hanging out backstage and seeing how it all works. And I hung out with the guitar techs a lot, and like I don't know, I really just soaked it all in, and I tried to like make as many connections as I could, like Jason Mraz, and just like past idols like Casey Abrams. We jammed a lot, and I just tried to learn as much as I could from people who are already in the industry.
Do you, is it true that you'll be doing a little co-writing with Jason Mraz? Is that in the works?
Yeah, I think so. He texted me yesterday and said like he asked what my schedule looked like. So I think we're going to try to do something after tour.
And he seemed like a great mentor when he was on. Just little small hints that seemed something that you could actually put into effect and work on.
Absolutely. I mean, like he told me to put the mic up, and I did it, and it really made a difference with my connection to the camera. And I still I played Killing Michael today, and I did it. I put up the mic, so I had a little bit more connection with the camera. And so I mean that was great feedback, and it was such a small little addition to what he was saying. So.
Did the guest mentoring outweigh the regular mentoring?
I think the guest mentoring was cool because it kind of it was usually artists, and it was cool like having David Cook too.
Yeah.
Because he had gone through this whole process, so it was we could pick his brain and kind of see what works and what doesn't work in the show.
I think they need to bring back more alumni as mentors for
awesome.
season 14.
Yeah.
It just seems like it makes sense.
Yeah, because they know they know what they're talking about.
They've been down that road.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you coming in. Who knows? Maybe you'll show up as a mentor next season, help some of these kids learn how to rearrange, because we want rearrangement. We do not want karaoke.
Yeah, let's do it. That'd be cool.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks, man.
We're going to turn off this Google Hangout. I'm hitting stop. Goodbye.